Alistair Dartmouth must be a very conscientious man in terms of knowing how he spent his money. I gather from my notes from this document, which I hope some of you saw, had 4 separate second homes from which he profited, and he also profited from the purchase of an IKEA carrier bag which cost him all of 75p. So members of Parliament have done very well out of the system. I'm going to mention, because I don't want to give the impression I'm just knocking off Labour members, Conservatives. Francis Ward, the Conservative member, Shadow Minister for Horsham, he charged £35,000 in 2 years for interest payments on a London flat, even though he already owned a house a few hundred yards away. And in terms of the rules, he could get away with that. Now, what he did with that property, I don't know. All I know, all the Telegraph is able to tell me, is that the interest payments, not the capital payments I should explain, but the interest payments on your second home, which in theory you require as an MP, he could claim, which he did, even though he had a property, because he's presumably quite a wealthy man. Alan Duncan, another Conservative representing Rutland and Melton, he's a shadow leader of the House. For 3 years he claimed £4,000 for gardening, £598 for the overhaul of a ride-on mower. So it's not just IKEA bags, but your ride-on mower and the cost of your garden, which you can claim for. Going to come back to Labour members. One of our county members, Helen, Derby member, I've forgotten her name now. She used to be Helen Jackson, now she's a former minister, stood for the leader of the Labour Party. Oh, my memory. Surely someone knows her name. Thank you, Margaret Beckett. Yes, I'm giving you the wrong corner. Margaret Beckett claimed, if you remember, £600 for hanging baskets, which I'm glad to say the Fees Office declined. And it should shock you all, as it shocks me and embarrasses me, that we have people who we're supposed to respect who are prepared to make claims such as that, particularly given the fact that in theory, according to the rules, and I will read what the rules are, you are only supposed to claim for expenses which are necessarily incurred as a result of your being a Member of Parliament, and you sign your name to that. I'd just like to quote what the actual wording is, and read a short quote. Every time an MP submitted an expense claim, they were required to fill in a 2-page form divided into 10 categories: hotel stays, mortgages or rent, food, utilities, council taxes or rates, telephone and communications, cleaning, service, maintenance, repairs, insurance, security, and other. On the second page, members were required to state the address of the second home in which they were making claims, as well as signing and dating a declaration which stated, and I now quote, and I hope you go away with this, if you forget everything else I said, you at least remember that members of Parliament signed this and got away, in my view at least, effectively with murder. I confirm that I incurred these costs wholly, exclusively, and necessarily, you note that word, necessarily, to enable me to stay overnight away from my only or main home for the purpose of performing my duties as a Member of Parliament. Now, how can you really claim that hanging baskets, or the maintenance of your mower, or your cleaning out your moat, or some of the other expenses that I sort of refer to are necessary for you to perform your duties. How am I doing for time? Now, I don't want to seem partisan, so I must refer to claims from other members. I now come to the Liberal Democrats. When Nick Clegg became a member for Sheffield Hallam, he had a £279,000 mortgage on his Sheffield property, and the interest on that was £10,108. Now that you paid for, that's the interest on that mortgage. You paid 1 year £1,050 for his garden. Again, to remind you that what I have said, and I could speak for much longer, and I urge you to get hold of this if you're interested. There are clean MPs who have not claimed a penny piece as they're entitled to do, and they're on both sides of the House. Now, I believe that the Green Party has rules. We have 2 MEPs. Their expenses are monitored, and they don't have the fat living which, in theory, MEPs could have, because they contribute, they put a lot back into the party, and they both of them live very modestly. Now, I believe Peter, if he is elected, which of course I hope he will be, would be one such person. He'll have to be, because obviously the rules are going to change. And any of you who are thinking of voting for not just Peter, but for one of the 3 main parties, I do press upon you and urge you to receive assurances from the candidates that you may be disposed to support about expenses, because to me, I think Parliament is a very important institution. It's now in the mud. We've got to reclaim and improve and enhance the standing of Parliament, and that means enhancing the standard of MPs and having MPs who are trustworthy. Sadly, they are not. And the glaring example of that, and I'm going to finish on this, when the Telegraph, and the Telegraph took a lot of risks in getting hold of the disc, which led them to give all the details of all the 600 plus members' expenses over 4 years. There was an American journalist living here who, under the Freedom of Information Act, made application for that information, and went backwards and forwards in the legal process, and the Commissioner monitoring the Freedom of Information Act found in favour of the lady concerned. When that happened, all the expense forms were going to be, with sensitive material, were going to be blacked out. And it was this process of blacking out the sensitive material, like claims for cleaning out moats, hanging baskets, IKEA bags, all that you would not see. You just see global sums of how much your rates you could claim back, your council tax, how much you spent on food. So the public were going to be deprived of that information. And thank God, I say to myself, I'm not a Telegraph person, I'm a Guardian man, but I have to take it off, take my hat off to the Telegraph that ran a risk, because they could very well have been prosecuted. That document could have been a scam, because there have been some very clever frauds. It could have been taken in. It wasn't, and I'm delighted that they did it.